Good afternoon, PorcFesters. Okay, let me tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to try and keep it to like a half hour, and we can leave it for I'm sure a lot of people have some questions, but that means it'll probably be 15 minutes of questions because I rambled. All right, let me go tell you what we're going to talk about. Just kind of, you probably know me from Freedom's Phoenix. I'm the publisher of Freedom's Phoenix. I'm the talk show host of Declare Your Independence with me, Ernest Hancock. But I always make it clear, I'm going, because a caller one time when I first started doing radio back in 2003, they called in, they said, if I'm going to declare my independence, do I have to do it with you? No, you don't. I declare my independence. So easy it was, no government form. And you didn't have to do it with anyone. And my whole life and everything that I advocate has been about being independent. And the only way that you can do that is to not be dependent. Because if you're dependent on someone else or something or even a system, that you're just expecting something's going to wind up at the grocery store shelf for you or at the dollar store or at the Walmart or something. If your expectation in life is that there's always going to be something there for you to buy that's going to sustain you, then, and have no understanding of where the hamburger came from, you're very vulnerable and you're dependent, and you can't be independent. And being independent is more than, than just outliving the life and being a farmer and all that kind of stuff. It's understanding how, whether you do it or not. A lot of, there's different characters in literature and so on that you always have the one guy, he goes into town and he just kind of makes ends meet and he lives by his wits and his mind and his brain, and we all need to be that kind of person. I remember Heinlein, a science fiction author that was real popular when I was younger, and is now, still a lot of you probably have heard of him. But, his whole thing was, sometimes you got to learn how to do this, you got to skin, you got to this, you got to be able to sustain yourself, and sometimes you just got to know when to slit throats, but we're trying to bypass that part. And my whole thing is, I'm a grandfather, newly. I have 4 grandchildren from like nothing to 3.5. And my whole adult life was kind of building towards a future that I could enjoy them and they could enjoy the freedom that grandpa and their parents kind of helped bring about that trend, that culture. And we were so independent as a young nation that that's what made us so powerful. I interviewed Stefan Molyneux just within the last week or so on my radio show, and I'm sad that he's not going to be here. He's fighting off a cancer thing. He thinks he's going to be okay. But he made one point in one of his videos that really stuck with me. And there were 2 things. One was you can have free-range chicken. They're more productive and they're healthier and they produce more for you. But for the chicken, in the end, they wind up in the chicken McNugget box. I mean, they're only as free as, the guy with the fence says they are. And that's kind of how I see how we are. And then he did another piece that was the reason limited government doesn't even work is because when you have any government, especially one that's limited, especially one that respects life, liberty, property, pursuit of happiness, especially then, you have an enormously prosperous society that the parasites get a little bit of. And you always get, no matter how limited the government is, it always turns into this life-sucking freaking beast. And we always find ourselves in some way supporting that beast. So what I'm going to talk about, other talks, I talk about a lot of other things in activism and, our history and where we come from and why and all that stuff. But what I'm going to tell you is a conclusion. Kind of an idea that, it's starting to formulate, and it's not just me, it's a lot of people. And one of them, a really good example, is the Blush family farm. John Bush and Catherine Blush, raising 2 young children. I look at them and I want to tear up every time I talk about them because they remind me so much of my wife and I. And we had 4, and they're not done, I'm sure. So I'm going, okay, what would be the best thing to advocate for and for us to attain our freedom now, not later? Right now, right here. The revolution's between the ears, the love-evolution. It's all about you just being independent, being able to take care of yourselves, raising children that are independent, take care of themselves and their family, with the truth. You know, if you told a kid now, let's say when the Levolution started in '07, you have Dr. Paul's out there advocating for freedom. You have these young kids that are in high school, you know, in college. Well, they're starting to get out now and raising families. And they have this knowledge that they didn't have before. Had they had this knowledge before, they might not have got that $100,000 debt with a sheepskin that didn't give you a job. They might not have done that. They might have focused on something that was more important. They might have been eating better. They might have, you know, decided that when they had the opportunity to take advantage of some land, or, you know, a relative died and they, you know, I'll take the cash, you keep the land. They would look at things differently. And now with the greatest of the baby boomers, as they pass on and their wealth goes down, you know, the man's in line, death tax, this tax, that tax, it's mine tax, it's not yours, I'm the government tax, okay? So what happens when that starts to transfer to the next generation? You know, that wealth, that cash, that freedom. So what I wanted to do is, as I'm looking at how the movement is progressing and how my friends are getting sick, you know, how people are, they're under anxiety, stress, they're not healthy, they're not living right, their mind is sick. You know, they're inundated with lies. Freedom's Phoenix, uncovering the secrets and exposing the lies. That's what we do. And the first About Us page has been up since we started in June '05, right when the internet started producing video. And I go, oh, here we go, the lamestream media, the media that's so last century, doesn't get it. On my way here, you know, my social, you guys probably know Almost Summer. Some of you guys know the Goris Marketplace and so on. She's one of the young activists. And she's in her early 30s, but to me, she's young, you know. What happened was, she is now my social networking director, and she comes to me and she says, all right, well, then you got to get with the times, man. Hashtag this and hashtag that, and Instagram, Pinterest, hashtag. And I'm going, and Tumblr and your hashtag of your Twitter, Facebook, and hashtag. So I'm going, no, fine. Set it up on my phone, and I'll go do it. Click, 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 click. I'm doing, and people love that stuff. And Andrew Clark makes the point that people only got about, you know, they're getting down to where it's like a 6-second attention span. You better say it in a meme. You better get it in the logo. You better skip to the end. So that's what I'm going to try and do, is kind of skip to the end on this. It's this. If you are eating the worldwide, national, industrialized, corporatized, licensed, patentized food of the man, if you are using Federal Reserve notes to pay for that food, you're a freaking slave. You're livestock. You're in the chute, man. You know, this is because what happens? People my age and older are really starting to be affected by a lot of health issues. And it's from a lifetime of processed and packaged foods and all this stuff. And that has a toll on us, not only emotionally and mentally and physically, but as a culture. So I'm going, all right. You know, how can I address this? What can I do? So we started thinking, you know, well, we grew a garden a couple of summers ago. I live in Phoenix, Arizona, and I am in a unique place, and I purposely moved there for this reason. It's 2 acres in the city limits of Phoenix. Mature trees that are 60 feet high. Oaks, mulberries. I have a bunch of citrus trees. I have probably 8 citrus trees. It is irrigated. It's been there since the 50s, 60s, and it's kind of grandfathered in, and this whole place is like a couple of square miles called Sunburst Farms. Horses, goats, no pigs. I mean, they're real big on that pig thing. You know, they don't want pigs. Chickens, okay? So we use that as an example, and we said, what can we do with a garden? How much food can we produce? And by then, I just started juicing. And I'm heavier, but I was a lot heavier. You know, I was probably 40 pounds heavier. And I just, I didn't feel like I ate badly. You know, I ate good. I just couldn't lose the weight. And I wouldn't go hungry, though. I'm just not going hungry. I trust my body. I need something. Something's missing. Something's missing. What is it? And I try different things. A friend of mine, he was sent home to die. cancer. And I can't remember which kind he had. I don't want to give it the wrong one, but it was a cancer. And they sent him home, and finally he took a friend of ours' advice and would do the Gerson therapy. And it's just juicing. It's like carrot juice. It's carrots. You juice carrots, something green like kale or cauliflower, and a Granny Smith green apple. And the reason is that there's some combination, the enzymes, de la, whatever. And then you do coffee enemas. Oh, yeah, that's the best part. I'll tell you about that later. What happened is this guy is around in the 30s. He's like Nazi Germany guy, of course, and the doctors, you're making people well. We don't want them well. We don't want them not getting sick. We don't want them healthy. We want to treat them. There's ka-ching money in that. And all these pharmaceuticals that came, from Germany are still around. A lot of these, it's like you say, oh, we won the war. It's like the Soviet Union. Yeah, we won the war. Here's an aside. I got to, that's why I did this, because I got a lot of sides. I want to make sure I get back to where I go, Green Cross. Any of you that you're watching this, I want you to Google this. Green Cross, Mikhail Gorbachev. What nobody knows is when the Soviet Union fell, Mikhail Gorbachev, where'd he go? I mean, he's not partying on some island with some rock stars or something. I mean, what happened to him? The Presidio was a naval base in the bay there by San Francisco, Oakland, and they privatized the naval base. Well, they gave Mikhail Gorbachev an office on this just decommissioned naval base, along with, Black Bag, De La, whatever. And he started a thing called the Green Cross. And it was, you hear the environmental movement. It's green on the outside, red in the middle. Well, this is where that came from, what they were talking about. The Green Cross had environmentalism as the new socialist flagship. So we go, okay, how would they plan, how would that get manifested? Well, here it comes in, you hear this Agenda 21 stuff. It goes into the United Nations. They want to have sustainable development, all this kind of stuff. And they go to small communities, and they say, you need to sign on to this ICLEI, whatever it is, and I'll let other people talk about all that, and it's conspiracy right up until it's not, So what happens is they get all these communities to sign up for this thing. Yeah, we're for sustainable development. What they're really saying, we're for controlled development. We're for deciding what you can and cannot plant in your yard, what you can and cannot produce, and sure as heck what you can and cannot sell, and how you use your land and all this other stuff. So all of a sudden you have the progressives on the left. They're all, we need government to do certain things for us, and we need government to, make sure we're safe, and we need government to feed, we need government. But they want to do permaculture. We're going to grow our own stuff. And, so it doesn't really make a lot of sense that they're not more libertarian oriented. Well, then you have the preppers and the survivalists. In Arizona, about a month and a half ago, they had a big thing they promoted for months called the PrepperFestAZ.com. PrepperFest, it was like, look, it's like a gun show without guns. It was just all kinds of prepper stuff, but a lot of foods, growing things, aquaponics, shelters, all kinds of different stuff. What we saw, because I knew people on both sides. I'm in Phoenix there, and I interview all these guys and different things that they do. So we were kind of a binder a little bit and introduce everybody to everybody, and they've been making friends. So here you start to find out the progressive left and the conservative right want the same thing. They just want to be left alone. There are those that just want to be left alone. There are those that just won't leave them alone. Which one are you? Well, when you express it that way to them, this is what the left would say. I mean, it was like they got it off a 3x5 card or something, bullet point. This is what it was. They go, well, we just kind of fly under the radar. And I'm talking, well, what about this? Did anybody say anything about how many you got in your yard? Oh, the front, you guys go, well, we just kind of fly under the radar. Well, I go, well, at least you're admitting there's a radar. Why do you have to fly under it? Why? What is the reason? Well, we're progressive, hippie commune type that kind of support the Democrat candidate that they leave us alone. So they're kind of playing into the system, And I'm going, wow, that they're not even willing to advocate for not having to be in the system. So I thought that was kind of strange. The the right side, you know, the Oath Keepers that we're good friends with, and the PorcFest kind of guys, the preparedness individuals, the doomsday preppers, a lot of the guys on the show, producers are there, faces you recognize, that kind of thing, and we're talking and so on. They're probably a little bit more in the libertarian mindset, but they're kind of starting to see we need to get away from this government thing. So I think they're coming this, but they still scream the Constitution. And the Constitution, I mean, I don't know your opinion, but mine is like, easily, to me, it was just another plantation they put us on. And it was like, you look at the Constitution, if you actually just read my radio show is called Declare Your Independence. Declaration of Independence rocks ass, man. I mean, that is like, wow. What a beautiful document. And it didn't say what kind of government we were going to have. It just said when we were going to recognize when it was bad. It's like, governments are instituted among men to what? Protect individual rights. When they don't do that anymore, it's time to alter or abolish. Next issue. I mean, it wasn't that complicated. They didn't say what kind of government. They didn't say it was going to be a democratic constitutional republic, where the democratic part elects a republic part that's chained down by the Constitution part, we're going to let the government decide if those chains are violated or not, and then I wonder what's going to happen. Patrick Henry, he's governor of Virginia, and for 4 hours he's arguing against the Constitution to the legislators. He goes, don't ratify this thing. I smell a rat. That's where that came from. And what happens is he goes, don't ratify this thing. That's where the Bill of Rights was born. It was kind of the deal they made with the libertarians of the day, the anti-federalists. If you read the Federalist Papers, this was the promise. You read the anti-federalists and say, yeah, let me tell you how the promise is going to get broke. Man, if they weren't clairvoyant. So when he's doing this, he's don't ratify this thing. A lot of people don't even know that Rhode Island didn't ratify. They said, we're out. So this new constituted United States boycotted Rhode Island. They forced them into the Union. So people saw what was going to happen. They detailed it in the Anti-Federalist paper. Let me tell you exactly how this is going to work. Man, there it was. So I'm not, Constitution's Constitution, one way or the other. I know what the deal was. It was the promise. It was what was sold to the people. But what really happens, and Patrick Henry made this, he goes, yeah, the checks and balances of government. You got executive, legislative, judiciary. Oh, yeah? Really? Let me tell you what happens. What happens when the executive, legislative, and judicial aligns against the rights of the individual? What happens? I'll tell you what happens. A couple hundred years later, you find yourself in a free speech zone. That's what happens. So I'm going, look, can we get past this? Can we come to another philosophy? Can we agree on something? What can we agree on? The whole promise was I just get left alone. Can I be left alone? Can I get left alone? I'm going to leave me alonist. What are you, Ernie? Libertarian, voluntarist, anarchist. I'm going to leave me alonist, okay? Which pretty much incorporates a lot of that. But, it resonates with a lot of people, and it cuts to the end. So what my wife and I decided, we're having children, we started to be more concerned about our health. A friend of ours did the Gerson therapy. The following year, we're up in the mountains in British Columbia, and he's doinging around the mountain, and I'm like, all right, man, what happened? I thought you were supposed to be dead. There's like 30 of us, a big group of friends were there. And he goes, Gerson therapy. Okay, so I look it up. I have a guy come on the show. He was a videographer for National Geographic doing documentaries, and he had a 15-year-old son that was causing troubles in public school, and he yanked him out. And he goes, hey, man, you're getting homeschooled, and we're going to do a documentary, and this is your project. So he went around, and they created the movie called The Beautiful Truth. And it was all about him going to all these cancer patients that had gone through this and telling their story and how it's done. And he'd draw stick figures on notebook paper, and they kind of, depict their trip and so on. So I had that guy on the show, and I said, look, I'm not going to read all the books, go through all the hits. I don't care. If you can't put it on a 3x, I had a friend not die. So I'm like, I'm in. So what do I got to do? And if you can't put it on a 3x5 card, then you're wasting my time because, damn, I got enough stuff to read. And he goes, real simple. I'll tell you on the air right now. Granny Smith apple, green kale, and carrots, okay? And you might want to put some bee pollen local there for allergens, little stuff, but that's pretty much, all right, fine, boom, I'm in. 2 weeks later, I start doing the juicing, and it changed immediately. Any chondroitin, glucosamine, for the old knees and all of that, within 3 days, I'm not taking any supplements at all. I may take some vitamin D, you know, just for immune stuff or something. But normally where I start to feel like I'm getting sick, you know, I'll do some colloidal silver, and I'll, you know, take a bunch of vitamin C. And I mean, you know, I got this garlic, and we got this plague thing, you know, that it's horseradish and garlic and onion, and if you can eat that, you know, you're not dead, you know. So you do a lot of these things. You get to start the home remedies. As I get older, 52, I'll try this, and I'll try that, and I'll try different things. And all of a sudden, in the 2 weeks it took me to get all the stuff ready, I already had listeners that started doing it. Some of them were friends of mine, and there's probably about a dozen people. They just kind of, hey, you know, we'll try it. You know, Ernie's going to try it. We'll try it. It sounds, I know about it, heard about it. You know, I knew my friend that whatever, I'll try it. I'm getting all these things. Ernie, these are the most common things that you get by just getting good nutrition. When you drink it, and you got the juice caboose up here. Good stuff, that's it. All kinds of different versions of whatever you might get what you like. $10 a cup though, and worth it. I still come down here and have a gyro, you know, Mandrick's, you know, screwing me up, but you know, it's, I can't handle a train wreck this year though, man, I'm just not doing it. You know, I did my penance. Okay, so what happens though, is the common thing that they were saying about nutrition is they're going, I don't hit the snooze alarm anymore. I wake up, refreshed, and I'm freaking awake. I have another juice in the afternoon. I don't need coffee. I'm feeling alert. I'm feeling, you know, like my brain's working. You know, it's like I've taken 5-hour, those drinks, you know, and I'm on a long trip, drive and do that. It's like that. You're just like awake. You're like, you're not tired. It's like, you know, do you feel like this? You know, in the afternoon, take this. Oh, no, no, no. What do they never say? Eat right. Now, take this. We got it in the bottle. It's right here. It's going to fix you. Not even by prescription. Over the counter. Freedom. That works. You know, I mean, I'm not going to sit there and rag on 5 hours since I've taken about $1 billion. But, you know, I'm driving around. But I tell you, juicing does the same thing naturally and instantaneously. It's like as you're drinking it, you start to feel better. You can just feel it sucking in. So I started doing it. I've been doing that for 3 years. But I wasn't losing weight. Didn't mind. I felt good. I go to the gym and stuff, feeling strong. I'm good. You know, I'm playing with the kids. You know, I'm good. But then a friend of mine goes, you know, they give that stuff to cancer patients to gain weight. You know that, right? And I go, oh, yeah, I probably should cut back on the carrots, huh? Because that's what made it sweet, you know? And I was like, oh, man, candy. You know, so if you're wanting to lose weight, you might want to, you know, cut back on the carrots. So then the other thing, then a friend of ours got cancer. 4th stage lung cancer. So he starts doing the treatment and everything. He's feeling better. He raffled off his 50 caliber rifle, you know, that was like $3,500 worth. He got almost $10,000 in the raffle for his cancer treatment, and everybody was happy about that, so that's good. But we came across another one. Another friend of mine had a different kind of cancer and started this thing called Budwig. Bud, like Air Bud or Bud McKinsey or Budweiser or whatever. Remember that Bud and a wig, okay, Budwig, because I keep forgetting that, and it's Budwig. And all it is a chemist came in. This is like in 30s and 40s, same kind of thing. Medical Association, oh, hell no. No. You never seen them go after and incarcerate and jail people and take all their stuff for anything more than making people well. They don't like that one little bit. I do story after story of this. I'm like amazed. And what she realized, and I give you, you know, the short, you know, I'm not the one who read all the books version. I've been taking this too when I'm home, and I love it, and this is what it is. Low-fat cottage cheese, emulsified with those little single pulse mixer things, along with cold flaxseed oil. Now, her thing was, and then you put some more flaxseed, coffee grind in, stir it up, and it's really bland. But if you add a little vanilla extract and some honey, just a teaspoonful of raw honey, it's like candy. I'm going, are you kidding me? I can eat this freaking forever. I'd rather not probably, but I mean, you know, I'm like, you know, this is really good. What it does is, as a chemist, she understood when they started heating all the oils and processing food, they were taking all the nutrients out of it and the oxygenating powers of it because they didn't want it to go rancid. That's why you have like 5 gazillion year shelf life of everything. But if it was fresh in this cold rolled flaxseed oil, and we were having more fresh, you know, virgin olive oil, more virgin this and not heated that and all this other stuff, the chemistry was different. Caveman did not burn his oil. You know what I mean? A lot of this stuff is just, you know, becomes, you know, natural. You understand? Well, what she was saying is that by the proteins that are in the cottage cheese. She's not a big dairy fan, but you get the proteins out of the cottage cheese. You put it in with the flaxseed oil, then it gets to go into your cells and bring oxygen with it. It kills the cancer cells. Because they're thinking cancer, the reason it's subjected so much to sugars, it just feeds on sugars, is because it's like a fermentation process. It's not really metabolizing like other cells. And naturally, your body just kind of gets rid of them. It's no big deal. But because of all the processed foods and everything, we're in an acid environment, and we should be in a pH environment. So I learned something else from this. So I do this, and it makes you feel really full, and I feel like I get nutrition. I've lost probably 20 pounds in the last month and a half, and it's just dropping off, and I'm not even trying. And it's, after I eat all this crap, I'll go home and eat, like healthier again. But so it's really making me feel a lot better. It's like a 3-year process of getting off. Now I go by, and I can't even look at a fast food restaurant. I can't even look at, some foods. I don't even crave meat that much anymore. So I'm just going, wow, this is really, and it clears your mind, gives you more energy. So I'm going, okay. This is okay. How can we take advantage of this kind of knowledge? So we were spending a lot of money on organic vegetables. So we planted this garden in our side yard, and in Phoenix, you add water and it just freaking jungle. I mean, just get over it. A lot of people don't know that Arizona is 2nd or 3rd in citrus production. It's number 1, 2 in cotton production. You add water, it grows. Lettuce, a lot of your lettuce comes from the Yuma area. So, we're going, okay, if we plant this garden, how much money can we save? And plus we get, I wouldn't plant, how fresh is it? It's, snap, that fresh. That's how fresh it is, okay? Put it in the processor, does its thing. So then we started to see we're saving a lot of money. Especially, carrots, they go up and down. They get really expensive. They go down. But we're finding out the carrots were starting to get really cheap at the store because they weren't organic and nobody was buying them. So the temptation, hey, it's only like, whoa, is that organic? I'd rather get the organic because I can tell the difference. And the energy level and what I get and how, my stool and everything, I can tell the difference. So I'm going, not that I was looking or anything. And then you got stuff like liver cleanses and all this other thing. I did that once. I should do it more. And all this, they want you to take milk. It's real complicated. They make it. It's real stupid simple. I always if it can't fit on a 3x5 card, I'm not doing it. Seriously. So they put it on. It's like this. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You don't eat in the morning. Whatever in the evening before. You don't eat in the morning. 2 o'clock, you take this Epsom salt. It's a magnesium thing. 2 o'clock. I think you do it again at 6, then 8. It's like taking a shot of gin and tonic. You think of it that way, that's about what it's like. Boom. What it's doing is it's dilating your ducts and your liver and your gallbladder and so on. So then you go to bed and you take this other olive oil and something to kind of help you sleep. So you lay down so you don't get upset stomach and wake up in the middle of the night. You wake up in the morning and you got to go to the bathroom, okay? Put a colander in the get over it. Here it comes. The restaurant's back there. Put a colander and boom, you get like 1,000 of these pea-size, kind of green and waxy colored. You go look liver cleanse, on the internet, Google image, and their people are so proud of their buckets. Let me show you how many I got, man. Woohoo! Bringing them into work. Look, woo! And you go and I'm like, all right, I'm doing the science thing. So I go and I take that out, kind of rinse it off, shower it and so on, examine it. No. We didn't do a level 4 diagnostic. But anyway, so we go to, squishing them, and I tell you what it was. It's earwax. Exact hard consistency of the earwax. It's the cholesterol. And I started to realize other things. I'm going, okay, how many of you heard they got, big green, vegetable diet for those that have heart conditions? And the reason is I started to figure, I can't believe they don't tell people this. I can't believe this isn't in freaking junior high. Yeah, I can believe it, because they're government schools. What happens when your blood comes out of your heart? It's coming fast out of the aorta, so it starts to wear down the inside of your blood vessels. You'll get aneurysms, or you'll get like scarring. It'll be raw. So your body's got to patch it, just like you get a break in your skin. It puts a scab on it. So what's a scab? It's cholesterol. Cholesterol is a patch. That's what it's there for a reason. You got high cholesterol, low cholesterol. Let's give you some, drugs to turn your dial on your cholesterol as if we're all the same. I'm doing, that is so much of crap. I'm sure there's some conditions, but mainly it's this. The cholesterol is there to patch what you're not fixing automatically, naturally in your own body because you don't have the chemicals, the nutrition, the micronutrients, and all that stuff to do it. How hard is this? So what's the solution? Well, we're going to squeeze that blob, up against the wall, and we'll increase some blood flow. Or we're going to lower your cholesterol so it can't patch it, and then you just blow a blood vessel and have a stroke, We're going to how about we eat right? So what happens is that you start to eat right, and it just repairs yourself. What, your body can't repair itself? I mean, seriously. So we're going, all right, this is what we need to start working on. And then the economics started to hit. One of my sons has 3 of my 4 grandchildren. His beautiful young wife, she's at home. She's thinking of going back to work. They don't need the money. He makes a good living, a lot of stuff paid off. Her mother passed away. They got to pay off all their bills. They're doing very well. Relax. She's like, well, I just get out of the house. And I go, well, we'll think of some other things to do. And then I started thinking, how much is she spending transportation? How much does it cost for her to go to work and back? How much is she going to pay in additional taxes? What kind of food are they going to eat? Is it Mylar, packaged, day-law, processed something? They got the kids and speed, got to get dinner going and everything. What is the economics with taxes and gasoline and fuel and transportation and health costs and productivity and just, having your kids to be able to raise yourself? What happens if you can produce enough food for a small family that just staying home, you make more money than going to work? What happens then? Oh, it's all freaking over. It's just like with solar and wind technology. Oil prices get high enough that they're out of sight, and we're talking about food, so we're looking for quality more too. So for organic foods, are so expensive. It makes it worth your time to do this stuff. So what happens? I'm going, all right. Well, it's just like with high gas prices. All of a sudden you get a bunch of solar and stuff, and then they start subsidizing both and manipulating the market and all that kind of stuff. But when it gets to where you can't even get good food unless you grow it, there's an incentive there. So my wife and I, how many of you were at PorcFest last year? Those of you that were here, you saw up in the middle of Agora Valley up there, we had a geodesic dome that we brought called the MoneyDome. And we had it, it was cool. We displayed all our stuff, and we were exchanged for dime cards and money and silver and doing all that. And that dome, the MoneyDome, really was, I always wanted to build a geodesic dome, but it was always prohibitively expensive. It took a long time. It was a pain in the butt. But they came up with a new way of doing it. They're going to Burning Man, doing different things. And it's always the hinge. Where you build a dome, it's how do you build that hinge where all the pieces go in? Well, if you take conduit, like this 1/2-inch conduit, kind of like this mic stand here, and you squish the end on both ends and you get the right length, the formula gives you, you drill a hole, and you use a bolt through all of the connections of all the other ones that go on there. You drill a hole and it puts them together. That's your hinge. All of a sudden, I don't have to have a hinge anymore. I just need a pin. Okay. So we did that. 16-foot diameter. Okay, a couple hundred square feet. The whole thing, I sewed the outside of it. It's very cool. Go look up MoneyDome or look up Aquadome. If you look up Aquadome, Freedom's Phoenix, it'll come up. #Aquadome, you'll see pictures. So we said we're going to do this again, but this time we're going to do it and we're going to build an aquaponics thing. How many of you have heard of aquaponics? Okay. A few years ago, about 4 years ago, a friend of mine was in Chile, and she sent me a picture of this guy that had, it was like a gazebo, and it had a pond in the middle, the hot tub was the fish, and then he had growth around the outside of it. Isn't this cool? I go, yeah, this is freaking way cool. Then we found out there was a place called Garden Pool, gardenpool.org in Mesa, Arizona. And we went there, and they've been on Doomsday Preppers, and they, have been featured on local television, all this kind of stuff. The first time they made television, boom. Channel whatever's up there, 2 hours after they air the program, the city of Mesa is there with a clipboard going, we here tell you're growing food. They would have had them take down their entire structure if they had had just a couple of mils thicker on their covering. It would have been deemed a permanent structure. They would have had to tear it down. So they, skated under that. But it just pissed me off that they would even think to do this, because what they did is one of these old foreclosed $40,000 houses that had an old pool in the backyard that they either had to fill in or fix. It was going to be thousands of dollars for them to do that. And he goes, I want to be self-sufficient anyway. You have 2 little kids, his wife, and he used to be an IT guy at Home Depot. So he knew a lot of the products and things available and so on. He goes, what I could do? I could put rafters over the pool, cover it with plastic, put fish down in the end. Well, first he tried hydroponics, and he didn't really like that because he kept having to go get all these chemicals all the time. So then he goes, how can I get these? Aquaponics. You put these tilapia fish, and in Arizona you use tilapia. In northern climates you might use trout or something like that, but tilapia are from the Nile. So they live in low oxygen, murky, really hot water. So Phoenix, that's all you had to say. Bring on the tilapia. So he puts tilapia in the deep end, and you see the water there, and he pumps it with the solar pumps. It pumps up to the top, and it goes through all these rain gutters that have plants growing in the clay balls, like marbles. You see those? They used pumice before, but the roots got into all the little, crevices and everything in the pumice. So when you take it out, it's got a bunch of rocks on the end of the plant. So if you use those clay things, he learned this. This is kind of stuff that, I don't have to learn this stuff. Cool. So he's having that water run through there. All right. So you're getting plants growing. They love this stuff. It's doing great. But now you got to clean the water going back to the fish. It's got to get to a certain pH. They found this stuff called duckweed. Duckweed is in Southeast Asia, Vietnam, and kind of stuff, Thailand. They use it as kind of like we would use lettuce or something. But it's used to, feed your chickens. Your birds love this stuff. And it cleans the water. So it cleans the water. It's like your own little, water treatment plant. And it goes back into the fish. You're all good. The fish produce so much that you have to put catfish in the bottom of it to eat enough of the tilapia so they don't get overdone. So they got catfish in there too. So it's kind of got a little ecosystem thing going on. Well, then what do the fish feed on? They feed on the algae. They just eat the algae. Well, what helps kind of promote the algae? He's got a chicken pen on top of the tilapia. Their droppings feed the algae, that feed the fish, that feed the plants, that clean the water for the fish. Biosphere. Okay. He was still pissed off. He goes, I got to go to the store and buy, that costs nothing, oyster shells. The oyster shells are for the calcium carbonate, the calcium that you need for the chickens, because after a while you start seeing that if you don't get them the kind of supplements, you start to see that their chicken eggshells start getting thin. So you need to supplement them with calcium. Well, even though they're really cheap, the oyster shells, my wife has them for our chickens and so on, but he's going, that's, it's like, it comes in a box, man. How much can you screw up oyster shells? I'm just wondering. But he didn't want to have to go off site. So what he did is he finds out they call them black soldier flies. And you don't want black soldier flies, in my opinion, but you want their larvae. So this is what he did. He knew that you put them in compost piles and so on, and that they know to come up at a certain angle to get, they'll just come up. They can't go straight up, but they come out at a certain angle to get out, and then they turn into a fly, and off they go. Well, he figured out that if he composted in like a bucket, a little barrel that he has at a certain angle, he just throws all his compost in there, all his garbage, all his, dead birds, whatever, anything you want, you do it. And John and Kat do the same thing on the Blush family farm. You have all these black soldier flies start coming out, and they just drop off into a tray right there, and the chickens go, thank you for my calcium supplement. They're a calcium supplement. So he doesn't have to do that anymore. Then he starts adding goats and some fruit trees. Goats and fruit trees don't go together. I could have told him that, because they eat the bark. But, so we are paying attention to this over years. Then people start coming, go to these PorcFests, so on. They start having little kits. They got square. They fit on a pallet. You're accessible from 4 areas, so it's easy for shipping. They put all the equipment and the pumps and everything in there. All you got to do is add water, seeds, and some little fish, and boom, within a few months, you're rocking and rolling and whatnot. It's a kit. It's called EcoPod. So EcoPod and another guy, there's another aquaponics named Don Cupper. We get together, and we're talking about this and at this one PorcFest also, the same guy, another guy at the same show, he's there and he says, you know that algae that you use for the tilapia? You can make biodiesel from that. It's called Sororo Materials in Arizona, and they do big machinery and everything and so on. They just had an interest in this, and they had machining skills. They could make whatever they wanted, and they just converted it, and they go, here, we have the algae, it's right here, and it's a tank. I bet it's like the size of this table and about this high, and it makes diesel, biodiesel, from algae that you're feeding to your fish. So I'm going, well, where's the pressing? You got to have a big pressing. Yeah, we're working on that. We got that here. We're doing this. We're doing that. So how much is it? I'll give you an example. A friend of mine, his name's Bob Anderson. He is a core nuke fueling tech guy at Palo Verde, one of the largest nuclear plants on the planet in near Phoenix. But it's like 60 miles out of Phoenix. He didn't want to have to drive out there all the time. So he bought 9 acres of land out in the middle of the desert, and he plopped down, and I'm here to raise family. The electric company goes, that'll be $30,000 to hook you up. And he goes, screw you, I can do this myself, okay? So what he did is he has his own well, satellite communication, cell phone, the internet and everything, TV. He has his own septic. He's got his own solar, batteries, wind power, backup generator, diesel for when he needs to pump and run his big AC. And solar got so cheap a couple of years ago that he started buying a bunch more. Now he can run little window shakers in his home when he's gone at work and so on. He comes back to a cool home by just closing all the doors and running in his living room and his bedroom. So he's totally off grid. Except in the summer, sometimes he needs a little diesel for his diesel generator, to really crank it down when it's really hot, 120-something degrees, or he's got to pump his well up, fill his tank or something like that. So he needs some biodiesel, but he doesn't need it year-round unless he's traveling. He doesn't live, only 10 miles from where he works, so, he doesn't need that much. So these guys are going, how much can this make? Well, it doesn't really matter. Well, there are so many gallons a year. Probably not enough to commute with, but I go, well, that's more than enough than Bob needs to run his generator for only off and on for 3 months out of the year. So I'm going, wow, we could be totally self-sustaining. The technology exists, not later. How is that when the freedom community starts to not only eat right, clearing their mind and their bodies, they're able to raise another generation of you don't have to starve. You get the healthy aspects of actually physically being outside. They're finding out. We have one in our community. He's a doctor. He does prostate stuff and blah, blah, blah. But he came to us and he gave a speech and he said, one of the highest instances of skin cancer and stuff is in Arizona. You know why? Well, I don't know, too much sun. He goes, no, not enough. Everybody avoids the sun, wear big hats, they're inside, everything's air conditioned. It's called life support. You run from your car to the mall. It's kind of, and you got sunblock on everything all the time. Arizonans aren't getting enough vitamin D. They totally rethinking this sunblock thing. They're like, whoa, 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 whoa. If you're going tubing down the river, maybe, but you need some sun. Damn. So we find out all this stuff, and all of a sudden, the freedom community, we start communicating with each other, and we find out what? That the very life we keep begging the government for, the very life, the freedom aspects of not having to work harder than you want to and be able to live a quality life and raising your family and your grandkids and everything is a matter of perspective, a matter of just applying your mind towards just doing it and knowing what Google search term to put in. This stuff is coming. So we decided that we have a magazine. We did 2 years of it. It's a Freedom's Phoenix digital e-zine, and it's popular. We're doing well. We have a lot of the big boys. If you go there, you'll see all the big boys, write for the article, and the covers are beautiful, and we put a lot of effort into it. But we decided that we're going to do something different. I wrote this last month. It was kind of announcing that for declaring your independence, month of July, when we're going to really, hard launch this, and you'll see it all over the internet, is that we're trying to, won't you be my neighbor? And we're using the Aquadome for this. And what we do is we build 2 of those domes. They're like 16 feet diameter. And it would probably take up, like 1.5 of these stages, the surface area where it's at. So in my side yard, I come out of my door from my studio in commercial break, and I hit channel 4. Cameras go on outside. Well, got to go do some farming. I got 4 minutes, okay? 8 minutes at the top of the hour, do 3 hours a day on LRN. So I come out, open the door, I walk right into the Aquadome, blah, 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 go through the other dome, do this, do that, go check the other stuff, come in, I'm done. I'm done. I did my farming for the day. I might come out in the next break, and then I'm done. I may harvest my very fresh vegetables that I'm going to juice and do right then, I'm done. I want to do this because in my self-interest, I get to spend more time with my grandchildren, with my family. They're healthier, they're happier. If I can make this work economically for my daughter-in-law, that is my motivation. And because I care enough to actually do it, and I think everybody's going to benefit from it, and we're going to, be a lot better and clearer of mind and not so worried about, there must be something they spray or put in the water or fluoride or whatever that we even worry about or give a shit what they think. I'm like everybody with the government, they're going, who freaking cares? I really don't. Well, then you get this Agenda 21 thing. They're coming in, you better care. You got carrots in your front yard, you must die now. So then we started, bringing in the Valley permaculturalist, and we get into preppers and all. They start to understand a government that won't allow you to grow food has got some issues. So we're kind of capitalizing on that. You almost want them to be a butthead, you know what I mean? Because we're setting this all up for October. We're going to have a big pumpkin. We got a couple of acres, so we got like fields irrigated. We could do pretty much what we want. We got 3 goats. Which are, if you got trees, don't get goats. I just want you to know that. So you got goats, chickens, and then we're going to do the fish and the food. So I'm going, okay, and the fuel. So fish, food, fuel, freedom. You see my point? So I'm going, all right. And so because I stay at home, heck, most of the driving we do is go get stuff. Or if Amazon takes care of about 3/4 of that. You know what I mean? I'm telling you, man. This transportation, the energy thing, it's going to change. You buy a Tesla car right now, electric car, you get free charges for life. Elon Musk is putting up charging stations all across the country. By the end of this year, it'll be from LA to New York. I know it takes 20 minutes, boom, charge, done. I bought the car. How much did I pay for that? What do I care? I never pay for fuel. This is, the future is now. And you look at the covers of Freedom's Phoenix, we depict the future. Futuristic flying cars. No, that's not future. They're now. I always on my radio show, I go, government, those sons of bitches, they took away my Jetson car. How come by now? I expected when I was a kid, I would have a Jetson car. By now, I don't have a Jetson car. I blame them. I so freaking blame them. So what happens? I get all these emails from people. Well, here's the one, Ernie, and here's one, and here's one. I'm like, yes. Oh, it's $250,000. Okay, well, it'll be down later. I'll get it later, all right? So this stuff is happening now. Airships that are like homes. Wouldn't it be nice that you just like, boom. You just land out there, moor down your airship, and you got home with you. I'll go be home in Morocco. I'll be home and, watch the Baja 500 from the air. I mean, I'll do it. This is now. These things we depict a lot. But all of this technological advances has not been used for us to really extract ourselves from the man. Food. Pharmaceuticals, which is a byproduct of eating bad, healthcare, byproduct of eating bad. You have transportation, energy. There's all kinds of, we can do it not later. I encourage you to go look at Freedom's Phoenix and you'll see how. So then we go, all right, we're going to go ahead and start doing this. And I got the companies are going to help us, not have to relearn everything. We got some other people that are doing it also. We built 3 of those domes. One goes to another friend of mine that is raising quail. Japanese quail. When you raise a Japanese quail, I'll tell you some stuff blew me away. They start laying eggs in 5 to 6 weeks. Are you freaking kidding me? Japanese they're all about miniaturization. Teeny weeny quail and teeny weeny trees, man. I mean, they're all over it. So they have the Japanese quail. They start laying eggs really quick. When you go in Asian countries, as you're walking around, you'll have, like we have vendors up here and they'll fry up something for you. They're doing quail eggs on the street. Quail egg is a big thing on a kind of a breaded whatever the heck. That's a big thing with them. All of a sudden, the Asian community in Phoenix area, you got quail eggs? He has a business selling quail and quail eggs with his little homeschool kids. He goes, I have over 300 quail now. I need a dome. So he built a dome. So he's putting that up. So we started looking, how expensive is it to build these domes? The conduit, you need about 70, 80 conduit, 10-foot lengths. And they used to be like 89 cents, 99 cents when I first started doing this. They're like almost $2 now. I mean, yeah, inflation. You got a friend that's an electrical contractor, you can probably get them for about $1.50 a rod. So after building each dome, which could be a freaking room in a house, and I thought of that when the doors kind of went together, I go, I can build 10 of these, put it on my trailer, haul it up to a piece of land, and within 2 days I could have a 2,000 square foot home. And I built it in my spare time in my garage. And it just comes in pieces, and I go do this. Oh, spray fiberglass on the outside. It's like an upside down boat. You take, put it in fiberglass. You take that double insulation stuff on the inside, insulated, to the nth degree. I'm going, why aren't we able to do this? Government, building codes, you're not allowed. We don't have an engineer diagram program, doesn't look right. We want it we rule you design. So all this stuff, we can see how can we have a big impact in the next phase of this levolution. What is the next thing that we're going to do? What if we just free ourselves? Oh, we got to go ask permission and get a form, and somebody said I was, and passed a law, and then we'll be free. How about you just do it up here? How about you free yourself between your own ears, and then you can start thinking about these things to do. So we have the structure up, we have the pond, we're pretty far ways into it. And we're hoping that by October we'll have this big harvest festival where we'll have all these different permaculture. They bring all their stuff. You're going to have their wares. We'll have a big festival for the weekend on my land there. We'll start, teaching them about silver and barn, even the permaculture lefty guys. Vanity, my favorite sin. You put their logo, their thing, and a dime in it and laminate it and give it to them. They love dime cards now, okay? So this is the kind of stuff that we're doing, the outreach that we're doing. So by October, when we have this big harvest festival and the kids are out there picking great pumpkins, and they're bartering and selling and silver trading and learning all this stuff, and the left and the right are getting close to each other, and they're all at peace and everything, what are my neighbors doing? Somebody call the cops. They're like doing something. And I bet they don't have a permission slip. So we preempt that. This last month, I wrote the article, my main article for Publisher's article. I put in there, won't you be my neighbor? Fred Rogers thing, man, won't you be my neighbor? So that idea of just, can we just be neighbors? Let me introduce ourselves to you. I've been there 2 years, and other than just casually coming in contact with the neighbors, they don't know who I am. But they know all the parties that we have and all the debate parties that we're watching and all the sign-making things and all of the freaking gazillion cars with the strange bumper stickers. What the hell is that? You read all the bumper stickers here. Imagine my neighbors reading all those bumper stickers. They're just like, damn. Well, they seem nice, So we're introducing, okay, this is who I am. I've done this, my family did that, we grew up here, we had these kids, we went, kind of what I'm telling you, I just we always wanted to be in Sunburst Farms because in the middle of the desert, to have irrigated land with, 60-foot mature trees and all this other stuff. I'm sorry, how much time I got? So that hour thing went up already? Well, hopefully I answered some of your questions. So I go to my neighbors, this will wrap it up good, and maybe we'll get one or two. I go to my neighbors and I say, won't you be my neighbor? This is who we are. We have kids and grandkids. We have, we're wanting to, make food. You want to see this dome they got in the side yard so you can see it? They can all see it. Drive by, and neighbors go, oh, what's that? Oh, you want the long story or the short story? Well, obviously, you got the long one. But anyway, so what I did is I wrote the article introducing myself to them, telling them what we're going to do, telling them why we're doing it, and that they were encouraged to participate. Today, my wife printed out the cover, made a DVD of all our previous issues, Then my article, introduction letter, and she's passing it out to 70, 80 of our neighbors that live in this area. And she's giving it to them. I don't know what's going to happen yet. But that's what our project is about. Won't you be my neighbor? And if we can demonstrate that, if we can reach out and love our neighbor, I mean, I'm telling you, this love thing is a weapon. This love thing is a force for good. This love thing is a big fat arrow in your quiver. This love thing is the magic bullet. This love thing is what's going to save us. Because if you don't love your neighbor, I mean as a verb, not like, it's a noun, oh, I love you, and then we're in love. No. I mean, if you don't think you love your wife, your kids enough, your neighbors enough, it's because you're not loving them enough. I mean, I want a leg wrap around, man. Give them a big hug. Because loving them can be easily demonstrated by just informing them how much you're loving yourself and your family and so on, and invite them to participate. All of a sudden, one of my neighbors, I was just talking to one of my friends that kind of lives in the neighborhood, and he goes, go down this one street. And I see this sign that you can tell it's been on the mailbox forever, and it's one of those swinging signs, like a for sale sign or something like that underneath, and it says, organic eggs for sale. Somebody didn't ask anybody permission. Somebody put a sign up, I got organic eggs. I'm like, oh, wow. So my wife, what do? We do a dozen eggs for a silver dime. So then I go, oh, it gets better. I go, so a lot of people, they come over, we get more eggs, and we got like, 20-something chickens now, and there's 2 of us, and we're giving all our friends, you want some eggs? Come on down, dime a dozen. So I go, dime a dozen. You hear dime a dozen? Oh, I don't even know where it came from, dime a dozen. Dimeadozen.com. Let's go get it. And .info was there, and I took it. So we're doing it, dime a dozen. Aquadome, hashtag Aquadome. Learn about it. Follow us. See what we're doing. We're trying to save our lives. Yes.
Picked up an angel whose left wing was broken. I sewed him together with some string and a vision. He raised his right hand and he gave me an answer. My mouth opened wide and I asked many questions. I see crowds of people all gathered around me. They all want the truth, but they don't want to hear it. I fear they will rob me if I dare to speak it. But poverty bears the fruit of the prophet. And oh, I am nothing